What's going on, boys? No guys here. Welcome back to another video. In today's video, we're going to go over the 4-4-2 custom tactics and the setup with the 4-1-2-1-2 wide. Now, listen, a lot of people, they don't listen. If you really want to improve, stop copying tactics without listening to the video because you're never going to improve. In the video that I mentioned, I know this is only a small minority, but in the video I mentioned yesterday, this is an attacking variation of the 4-4-2. So if you can't get past with the 4-4-2, which a lot of lower tier players and even mid tier players, I mean mid, I'm talking about Division 3, I would say around, maybe that's not mid, upper mid, but even all the way up to elite, they struggle with the 4-4-2 because it's a hard formation to play because you miss that central player in the middle. And what I'm referring to is that central cam player that knits everything together. So the whole idea of this formation was to make them more attacking. Because how many times have you been inside a game where you feel like even the 4-4-2 is not attacking enough? That's the idea behind this formation, is to make it much more attacking, to have a cam there. So yes, as I mentioned in the video, if you don't run back with your CDM, you're going to get countered. But let's just go through the full layout. We're going to go first and go through the structure. So first of all, we're going with the 4-2-1-3, okay? Now, this is a defensive formation. Now, you could argue this is the formation to close the game out, okay? So this doesn't have, just because it's got the name defensive, you can actually start the game with this formation. In fact, the 4-2-1-3 is probably up there with the top 3 formations inside the game. I've already mentioned why from the beginning, why this is a meta formation. We got counter and we got the build up being, defense approach being balanced. Now, you can go build up being balanced. Look, defense approach, you can increase if you want to. But because I use this to close the game out as well, I started with 35. I always press myself manually if I need to. In possession, I attack in a 4-2-1-3. I got the advance forward and the inside forward on both the left wings, right wings. The cams on playmaker. If I want to make this more attacking, I can put shadow striker. And of course, got the 2 CDMs holding and then the fullbacks on defend. So this would be, if you love using the 4-4-2 system, as you can see, this is basically a 4-4-2. You got 2 CDMs. We all know that CDMs at the back 4 and stay back is almost impossible to get past. They're so defensive this year. And then you've got a cam. So then to make this formation more attacking, we then go to the 4-4-1-1. So you can see instead of CDMs now, we have center mids. So the only difference between this formation here and here is that we now have center mids and then we have left mids and right mids. If you could do wingers here, I wish you could, but you can't. So the idea is the center mids push up and it allows us to be more attacking. So as you can see, this is the code here for the 4-4-1-1. Do you want to get better at FC25? Now, before you skip ahead, what if I told you if you joined my FC school and you didn't get better after 1 month, I'll refund your money? I can say this because I've been running my FC school for many years and thousands of students join and even stay on. We go over complete in-depth gameplay tutorials showing you both the theory of something and the gameplay examples using real-life examples in a structured format that's like a course. The videos on a systematic learning system teaching you everything from the core mechanics, the basics to the meta so you can get better as a whole with explanations that go beyond the scope of my YouTube channel. FC School has already started with every single tactical layout, focuses, meta cards, and learn the meta before it even becomes the meta. So come join thousands of others in a mature audience community for those looking to get better at FC25, patreon.com/nilguides, or click the link down below. Now, when you join, we already have a library of hundreds of videos, more than my YouTube channel, in fact, with new videos on FC25 getting constantly added so you'll never run out of content. The biggest mistake people do is they spend thousands of dollars on FP points every year thinking this will make them better, but it won't. But now it's time for you to make that change. Don't forget, if you don't get better after 1 month, just send me a message and I'll refund your money. That's the Nil Guides guarantee. Links down below in the description, patreon.com/nilguides. Now, I have gone with a higher defensive approach. I think with a 4-4-1-1, I think you kind of need it, if you're asking me. I think if you want to make this closer to a 4-4-2, I feel like you could up the defensive approach and kind of get away with it, if you're asking me. But if you struggle with that, you can just drop this to 60. That's completely fine. Build up play on balance. I put my striker on poacher. I personally like my striker on poacher. We got the cam on shadow striker. Left mid, right mid. Very similar to the 4-2-1-3. We have inside forwards. And the reason why the cam's on shadow striker is because don't forget, unlike the 4-2-1-3, they're not left wings and right wings. They're left mid and right mids. And if you don't know, inside forward, left mids and right mids, they sit more reserved and they don't help the attack as much. We got 1 center mid as holding. So when you lose the ball, you got a player coming back. And then we have the other center mid on playmaker attack. And then we have the back line all on fullback defense. So you can see here, you've gone from a defensive formation, or maybe one to start the game with. The 4-2-1-3 is still very viable attacking formation. Then we've gone to a formation where we have the cam on shadow striker and we've got two center mids instead. So the next option is then going to a 4-4-2. Now, I just want to mention here, I've gone with this balance. I put 61 here. Now, what's important, you can use a 4-4-2 flat if you want to. You can use either one. The reason why I'm putting a 4-4-2 holding is because some people, they don't like to use a 4-4-2 flat. But the idea behind this is if you want to make this more attacking, you can go to a 4-4-2. So I just wanted to mention this. You can, of course, do the same thing with a 4-4-2. In fact, let me walk you through. It's the exact same. The only difference is the player positions. And the 4-4-2 probably is, in my opinion, the best formation inside the game. If you're asking me, up there with a 4-2-1-3. And then what we're going to do is we're going to put one of these in playmaker attack. And we're going to put both of these players at inside forward balance. So they still help out defensively. And then we're going to put the fullbacks on defend, like so. So you can see here, this is how I'm doing it live. So you can see, this is why I want you to learn this, so you know this for the future. So you can see here, we've got one cam, one striker. Now we've got two strikers up front. And the idea is the playmakers kind of being that kind of that temporary cam. And then you have one player on holding. We've got inside forwards for both the left mid and right mid. Make sure they're unbalanced. One striker advance forward, one unbalanced. I think that's a good, perfect mix. You can use counter-attack build-up style as well. So do you understand how, when I make these tactics, do you understand how my decision-making is done? So I have a CDM variation, kind of like a 4-2-1-3 or 4-4-1-1. You have it. You can call it whatever you want. 4-4-1-1, whatever you want to call it. Then we have the 4-4-1-1 with the cam and the two center mids and a cam on shadow striker. And then we have one with two strikers. So do you understand how incrementally this becomes more attacking? This is what is called team management, okay? In real life, you'll see a lot of teams do this, but they understand. Like, you know, you might see, for example, Arsenal, when we're losing, we'll go press in a 4-4-2, and Havertz will be up top with Odegaard. Then Odegaard sometimes drops in midfield to make the midfield three. It's more dynamic in real life, and players understand when and where to switch depending on the game. You want to do the same thing, but you want to make these small micro adjustments to make the formation more attacking and more defensive. That way you're not going to some extreme defensive shape and then one extreme attacking shape back to back. You're incrementally changing on how the game goes. I'll explain that towards the end. And then we have the 4-4-2, 4-1-2-1-2 wide. So do you understand how yesterday's video, look, we go from the 4-4-2 flat, and let's say, for example, you want to make this more attacking, you can put a cam, we put Guijarro there, she's not meant to play there, but this is where normally I'll sub someone on that can play that cam role very, very well. If you got that Buffon card, the Buffon can play both the cam role and the center mid role and the CDM role. One of the few players, I think it's only like 10, maybe 15 players max that can play those roles in the game. He's pretty cheap as well, but he could be a player. But you can see, look here, we have the same structure here. So when we're attacking like this. And the idea behind this is, look, Tonali is here. This is what I mentioned in the video. But for those who are this far, if you get countered, run back. I've explained this in the video yesterday. I know this is only a small minority of you guys that are not listening. I know everyone else is, but it's so important. So if you're not running back and we just CDM and you get counter-attacked, well, I'm going to say good. You deserve it. Make sure you listen. It is not just my tactics video, guys. Any tactics video that you watch, listen to the reasons why they do things. I know some people just put codes out and they just copy it. They don't explain things, but it's important because you're meant to adjust this for your own style. If you're sitting there and you're like, you know what? No, I know I'm a top tier defender. I don't need any of this garbage. I can afford to put attacking wing backs on. Then go. Then you can make this formation even more attacking. You could do something like this, and you can even put, for example, your CDM, for example, on something like this, on center half, and then you can go like this, go all out attacking, like a real life system. Go ahead, go do that. I think that's very, very good. That's the best thing. I want you. This idea is, guys, gone are the days when I give you a code and I say you copy it like for like. I want you to learn and adjust these tactics. It's so, so important. A good template will give you 90%. But to get that final 10%, you got to adjust it for your play style. And that final 10% could be a difference between you getting 11 wins or 13 wins, or 13 wins and 15 wins. Very, very important. But do you see, for example, like here, we've gone from here, a 4-4-2, and then we've got one player being a cam and one player being a CDM. So yes, you're going to be open, but of course, run back with your CDM. Understand where you are inside the game. So that we'll come back to the last formation in a second. So the idea is, look, you'll start the game with this. In fact, this would be a balanced formation as well. If you want to make the formation a bit more attacking, a bit more press heavy, you can go for the 4-4-1-1 where you got a center mid instead of CDM. So yes, you lose defense stability, but the team are much more higher up and you have the cam as a shadow striker. If you're still struggling, you're like, you know what? My opponent's got 2 CDMs. I need 2 strikers. Then you would use the 4-4-2. So let's say maybe you're losing 1-0 inside the game, or maybe even you're drawing and you're like, you know what? I can't get past with the 4-4-1-1. Then you would use the 4-4-2. And then if you still can't get past, then you would use the 4-1-2-1-2 wide. And then let's say, for example, you're losing 2-0 and you can't get past, but let's say your opponent is wasting time, then you'd want to go to a pressing system. And this is where this formation comes in. It's a typical 4-4-2. I've gone with 70 depth. For those of you that use higher depth, you would know because you naturally use a higher depth normally. Feel free to increase this to your own ability. But I think 70 is a good level. I always use constant pressure or team press in the olden days. But if you want to replicate that, you can do aggressive. I personally use high. Then I use a team press D-pad tactic and I press myself manually. Now, the only difference here, we got the fullbacks, both of them on a fullback balance. So they're going to help with their attack a little bit. We got a poacher and then we got, for example, playmaker attack. If you want to make this really much more attacking, you can put box to box or you can put it on playmaker. And then you got a very attacking system. But do you understand why I have to explain these things? Because, you know, if someone just copies the code, they're like, oh, Neil, I'm open. But you don't understand this is attacking formation. So yes, you can use the formation for the entire game, but you have to be good enough and you have to understand how the formation works. If you're one of those guys, that small percent that copy codes the entire time and actually stay this time, always, if it's not just my videos, look, 10 minutes of your time or whatever, you know, I try to make it as quick as possible. I don't like to blab too much, but 10 minutes of your time will help you get those extra wins. End of the day, you can do whatever you want, but that is the tactical layout. So there's a 4-4-2 tactical layout that can has the 4-2-1-3 hybrid. But you can see, if you think about this, they're all 4-4-2s. This you can argue is a 4-4-2 with like a false 9 striker. You can think of, or second striker. This is a 4-4-2 with a striker behind. This is a 4-4-2 with 2 strikers up front. This is a 4-4-2 with a CDM and a cam. So the wording of it is not that important what the number is. It's how those players are positioned. And then, of course, if you're losing, you can use this formation of pressing tactic. Anyway, guys, I hope you really enjoyed this video. I hope you learned something. I know these videos are a bit more longer, but they help me explain these things in detail because, to be honest, I know you don't come from me for nonsense and you come from me for no BS, but if you really want to improve, it's important that you make these changes and you understand how these tactics works. Because one day, I might not be here, but at least you'll understand, okay, you know what, Neil taught me how I should do this progressively, how I should change from my style, and you can adjust it for yourself. So if I'm not here one day, there'll be someone else with templates. You copy their template and you'd be like, remember what Neil said? Adjust it for your play style. If you know that this is too attacking and you're like, you know what, I can't play with 2 playmakers, then change it. Just because you see, for example, Tex or Anders or Desari or the top tier players do it, you're not them. You're not the best player in the world. Otherwise, you'll be in these pro events. You'll be watching these videos in the first place. So always adjust it for your style. If you know, even me, for example, I'm not always comfortable with having, for example, my fullbacks going forward. I'm sure most of you guys will be the same. But it's important to adjust it. So if you know you're strong with fullbacks going forward and you know I need a fullback going forward, then adjust that for your own play style. Thanks for watching. And don't forget, if you want to learn more about FC roles and, of course, tactics videos, and of course my FC school. And if you don't get better after 1 month, we'll refund your money. That is a nil guides guarantee. If you don't get better after 1 month, we'll refund your money. It's a nil guides guarantee. Links down below in the description and in the pinned comment section down below. Check it out. If you don't get better, what have you got to lose? Nothing. Catch you next time. Peace out.